What's goody? Hey man, so today we are coming at y'all with another video, bro, and today we are going to be talking about the 5 players that are under the most pressure going into the 2026-2027 NBA season. These 5 guys are all big name guys. These are all guys that are pretty much, 1As on their team, or if not, they're pretty close to it, or they're guys that have a lot riding on their shoulders that their team, their organization, and the fan base that they're in now expects a lot of them. Pressure can mean different things for different guys, so I'm going to try to kind of describe what the pressure is and where the pressure is coming from and what that pressure is like for, you know what I mean? Because for some guys, it's going to be like pressure to perform individually, whereas for other guys, it's going to be more of like a team type of pressure or like a championship type of pressure. So we'll go through all of that here, but the first person I want to talk about in this video is an OG, one of the guys that is one of my favorite players of all time, Kevin Durant. Now, you could very well argue that Kevin Durant has nothing left to prove as a 2-time champion, a 2-time Finals MVP. He's got a league MVP in his trophy case, all of that stuff, right? He's won a scoring title or a few, you know what I mean? So you could argue that given the fact that Kevin Durant's a first ballot Hall of Famer, if he retired today, there's no pressure on him. But in my opinion, there's a whole lot of pressure on this entire Houston Rockets organization and especially on Kevin Durant. But what I will say is this is kind of the only one or one of the few on this list where it's kind of not only on the star player but also kind of on the full team just because of the core and the timeline with that core and everything that was given up in order to kind of make this team the team that was there to make a championship push right now, right? Because don't get me wrong, there is absolutely the potential that KD and the Rockets this season, right? They have the season that they were projected to have. They have a close to 60 win season. They finish as the top 3 seed out west, and they do well in the postseason. That could all very, very well be possible for the Rockets because this is a very good team, and that's what this Rockets team was built to do, was to compete with the teams like the OKC and the San Antonios of the world. But I also think it's very possible that we get a season that's a little bit more reminiscent to last season, right? Where, I don't know, maybe the Rockets, maybe it's a little worse than last season, right? Maybe we go into this season and near the trade deadline, the Rockets are sitting at like a 6 seed and people are calling for the trade of like a Tari Eason or a Jabari Smith Jr. or a Reed Shepherd or something like that. Maybe even calling for the job of an Ime Udoka. You know what I mean? Like, I could very well see that happening just in, like, almost... I feel like that scenario number 2, is almost as likely as scenario number 1, to the point where I really cannot tell if this is going to be one of those seasons where the Rockets do what they're supposed to do, or if this is going to be one of those seasons where we're looking at the Rockets and we're like, yeah, just another team that traded for Kevin Durant and failed. You know what I mean? And I hate the thought of that, and I think because of the track record of Kevin Durant on the Oklahoma City Thunder and then going to Golden State, and as soon as he leaves Golden State, he goes to all these teams and tries to build all these super teams and tries to be the cherry on top to all these championship winning teams and all these championship caliber teams, and none of those teams since Golden State have ever even gotten close to a championship, especially since he was in Brooklyn. So I think there's pressure on Kevin Durant here. I do think that especially because Kevin Durant was brought in to be the number 1 guy, right? Like, Kevin Durant, when you traded for Kevin Durant, this team was already a 2 seed. This team was already a team that had a whole lot of young talent. Then you trade for Kevin Durant, and now we're looking at things a year later. Kevin Durant's contract, all it has left after this year is a player option. Fred VanVleet's contract, gone after this season. Amen Thompson's contract, gone after this season. Now, I'm assuming Amen Thompson at some point throughout the year gets an extension, but those other 2 guys, you have no idea what's going to happen with their contract. So this is really, should that second scenario happen, right, where the Rockets are not looking like a great team and there's trade rumors and there's things, people calling for Ime's job and all of that stuff, I absolutely could see a world where that scenario happens, and then next season we're looking at the Rockets and we're looking at a team that looks way more like they did a couple years ago when there was no Kevin Durant than a team that looked like with Kevin Durant, because nothing will have happened. You know what I mean? If I'm the Rockets and I'm looking at this Kevin Durant tenure and everything like that, I wouldn't be tripping to re-sign Kevin Durant, especially if this year doesn't look phenomenal. Now, if this year you get super, super close to the championship and you think you might just be a piece or 2 away, that's different. But what we're looking at right now, man, if a year happens like last year, if I'm the Rockets, why would I want to re-sign Kevin Durant, who's going to be, 40 years old by the end of his player option, to another long contract after already having failed 3 years in a row with him? I wouldn't do that if I was them. So should this team fail, I could very, very much see this team looking very different in a year or 2. And my thing with the Houston Rockets right now and why I think there is so much pressure is because I think the West got worse, right? When we look at a team like LA, I think LA is worse now than they were last season. When we look at a team like OKC, I think OKC is worse now than they were last season. When we look at a team like Denver, I think Denver is worse now than they were last season. The main teams that you're really worried about out west, that you would really be contending with out west, outside of San Antonio and maybe Minnesota, got worse this season. So should you have another season where you lose in the first round or where your regular season standing isn't where it should be, that would be almost inexcusable to me because of how much worse the West is. Don't get me wrong, teams like the Jazz and Mavericks and all this stuff got better. None of them got better to the point where they should be competing with the Rockets on a day-to-day basis, though. You know what I mean? Those teams that the Rockets were losing to and the teams that we never really saw the Rockets on the same level as, well, all of those teams except for one or two got worse. So the Rockets can't come out here and have a season just like last year's. You at least got to make it out of the first round, at the very least. Yeah, number 4, Jason Tatum. Similarly to Kevin Durant, right? I really did hate putting Jason Tatum on this list. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA right now, too. But when you look at it, the Boston Celtics put a lot of pressure on Jason Tatum. They put a lot of weight on his shoulders this season, and I would argue that for this one season, the Boston Celtics' entire organization rests on the shoulders of Jason Tatum, and that's all because of what Brad Stevens did this offseason with the Jaylen Brown trade and everything like that. But, I mean, you got to think about it, right? Ever since the duo of Tatum and Brown has been together, at least since their rookie years, or since Tatum's rookie year, the question in Boston has been, will you be able to have both of them, or will you have to split up Tatum and Brown and pick one? Now, the Boston Celtics want to chip with both of them. They paid both of them and everything like that, and honestly, it was looking like they might not ever have to pick until the second apron comes in, and now they have to choose, and this season, they chose Tatum. That's why they traded Jaylen Brown. They said, okay, boom, hey, Jaylen Brown, we love you. We appreciate everything you did for us. But if we're going to be real, I would rather pay that money to Jason Tatum than you. That's why they traded him. That's what they did. And when you do that, don't get me wrong, it was a decision that probably I don't think has to be made right now. But the fact that you made the decision, I don't think is the big problem. It's what you got back in the trade. The fact that all you were able to get back for a Jaylen Brown, and let me explain to you another aspect of why there's so much pressure on Jason Tatum, because remember what Jaylen Brown did last season? Jaylen Brown last season, with a worse supporting cast than what Jason Tatum is projected to have this season, at least on paper, he led the Boston Celtics to a 56-win season while also finishing top 6 in MVP. And now you're asking Jason Tatum to go out there and basically do the same thing, if not close to it, while coming off of a torn Achilles. And don't get me wrong, I don't think it's like the craziest ask in the world. He came back last season and looked good. Like I said, the supporting cast that he has is a little bit better than that of what Jaylen Brown has, but also the East is better than that of what Jaylen Brown was dealing with. Jaylen Brown was not coming off of a career-altering, for some people, career-ending Achilles injury. He just wasn't. So my thing with Boston, and the reason why I think there's so much pressure on Tatum, is because Boston chose to do this move right now. Had Boston done this move a year later, I don't think there would be as much pressure on Tatum, but when you're coming off of Jaylen Brown, who just had his best season in the NBA, and you trade him for a package that's Paul George, who's aging and not very good right now, at least when you compare him to Jaylen Brown, and then some first-round picks, it leaves a sour taste in the fan base mouth, and now the fan base is looking at you like, okay, well, Jason Tatum didn't make the decision, but you're here now and Jaylen Brown's not. Everything now we expect to be, if not the same, then pretty close to what Jaylen Brown was able to do last year. And if he is not able to put up the same numbers or lead this team to a similar amount of wins, the conversations about Jason Tatum will probably be bad. Because, I mean, you got to think about it. In the NBA, Paolo and Franz, there's always been a debate who's better. All these teams in the NBA that have kind of 1A, 1B guys, the debate is always who's better. Well, now you split up those 1A, 1B guys after the 1A/1B, whichever you think Jaylen Brown is, just had the best season of his career. Now, the other guy, you put all of the pressure in the world on him to carry you, because this team doesn't have anything else. So if the Celtics are anything less than a 50-win team, everyone's going to say that's Jason Tatum's fault. And that's all because of what the front office did. It has nothing to do with anything about Tatum. That's my least favorite thing about this one. Kevin Durant put the pressure on himself for the most part. Sure, he didn't trade for himself, but he allowed for himself to be traded there. He knew he wanted to go there. He did all of that stuff. Other people on this list have put the pressure on themselves. To me, the Jason Tatum pressure is the least fair because his pressure is being placed on him by his own organization. He didn't ask, at least I assume, he didn't ask for Jaylen Brown to be traded. And now there's 10 times more pressure on him because the front office got rid of his running mate. Crazy. Number 3. And of all the guys on this list, I think this is the guy where, should he fail this season or underwhelm this season or kind of cave under the pressure this season, I think he would be the one where he would be the quickest to lose his job. I think the pressure on him, on this one guy this season, is the most like, either you have your job or you don't have your job type of pressure. It's the most like boom or bust type of pressure almost for any of these guys, and that's De'Aaron Fox. you could say that there are some other guys on this list who we are going to get to in a second that maybe be more likely to be traded towards the end of the season, or guys that would also be, you know what I mean, in trade rumors towards the end of the season should they disappoint or should their team disappoint. But no matter what guy you might want to name that's on this specific list that could get traded, I don't think there's any player that's more likely to get traded right now, at least of a star caliber, than De'Aaron Fox, man. When you think about how phenomenal Dylan Harper was throughout the playoffs last year, but like especially in those last two series and really throughout his entire rookie year, it's just tough to look at that and remember seeing him play so much better than De'Aaron Fox, and then you trying to convince not only Dylan Harper but also the fan base in the NBA world that it makes sense to continue to start De'Aaron Fox, especially if it's not looking as good as Dylan Harper's minutes are. You know what I mean? There's a lot riding on De'Aaron Fox this season, and that's mostly because of the guy behind him, right? Where this is a really unique spot on this list as well, where like Jason Tatum's spot was unique because the pressure coming from him was more of an organizational standpoint. Well, with De'Aaron Fox, the pressure coming from him is unique because should he fail with his pressure, he's really going to, at the very least, get demoted. Probably, if I had to guess. Now, he's making $60 million a year. You could argue the San Antonio Spurs are not about to move his ass to the bench. At the very, what they would do is start him, and then if they decided, okay, boom, we have better chances with Dylan Harper, they would trade him. That's very possible. That's very plausible, even. But man, I definitely think this is a make or break year for De'Aaron Fox, especially in San Antonio. This is a guy that was an all-star last year. He's a good player, and that's why he was an all-star last year. That's why the Spurs wanted him here in the first place. That's why I was a guy that liked the move when he originally got traded to the Spurs. But after what Dylan Harper looked like last year in comparison to what De'Aaron Fox looked like, especially in those last two playoff series, you can't continue. You can't have an injured De'Aaron Fox in the playoffs again, or an underwhelming De'Aaron Fox in the playoffs, or even during the regular season again, and expect the fans to be okay with you continuing to, and even Dylan Harper, expecting him and the fans to be okay with him continuing to come off the bench. It's just going to be impossible. There were already stirrings this offseason, as soon as the finals ended, where they were talking about how Dylan Harper wants to start and how he's frustrated that he doesn't have a starting role, and how he's doing everything in his power to work to the point where he deserves to be the starter. And I don't think that's crazy, because like if we're talking about things right now, man, with the fans and everything like that, the way they love Dylan Harper, it would probably take De'Aaron Fox being an all-star again. It would take Wemby and De'Aaron Fox looking like Kobe and Shaq type of duo during the season for De'Aaron Fox to continue to be a staple in San Antonio, at least in my opinion, especially with the money he's making. I mean, 60 M's, if I'm San Antonio, he's by far our most expensive guy. We're about to have to pay Castle in a year or two. We're gonna have to pay. I think they might have extended Wemby. But I'm not sure if it kicked in yet. But yeah, they extended Wemby. I believe. Eventually, they're gonna have to pay a De'Aaron or a Dylan Harper and a Carter Bryant and all these other guys. They have a very, very young team. So the $60 million De'Aaron Fox on the books is definitely something that I think they will be trying to get off of. And I don't know, man. I just don't see this season for De'Aaron Fox going too phenomenally. I just don't feel like the fit is there. I don't feel like the morale is there. I feel like the fans in San Antonio are really off De'Aaron Fox and really want to see Dylan Harper. Which, I mean, I'm a fan of De'Aaron Fox, so I hate that for him. But at the same time, there are teams out there that will need a point guard. The Heat still need a point guard. The Raptors still need a point guard. There are teams, the Magic could probably use a point guard at some point this season. There are going to be teams out there in the NBA that are going to be looking for point guard play. So I don't think this will be one of those things where, oh, De'Aaron Fox has a bad season, now he's getting traded and salary dumped. No, I think there would be real buyers. I think he would have a real market because he is a good player. But my thing is, the fit in San Antonio is kind of where I'm like, off right now. Number 2, LaMelo Ball. Probably LaMelo Ball was probably going to be on this list either way. When he was in Charlotte, I might have left him off this list for a guy like Kawhi with all the stuff that's going on with Kawhi this offseason. He's an honorable mention, by the way. But with LaMelo going to Minnesota, the pressure that he was already going to be facing, because he was going to be facing pressure in Charlotte to take this team to a playoff berth and to be a real 1A on a real playoff team, or to be a real 1B on a playoff team at the very worst, you know what I mean? But now, you go to Minnesota, a team that has made the conference finals in 2 of the last 3 years, a team that had championship expectations before you came, and that probably has even higher championship expectations now since you're here. All of that made that pressure go up exponentially from what it was in Charlotte, right? Because, like we said, in Charlotte there was going to be pressure, but now there was going to be pressure, and there was going to be pressure to win. There was going to be pressure to take this organization to places that LaMelo Ball had not taken it. But in Minnesota, Dog, we're talking about like top of the league type of pressure. We're talking about pressure to be the best team in the league. We're talking about pressure to be a finalist, a conference finalist, a team that beats a San Antonio or an OKC or at least gives them a really good fight. We're talking about a team that if they don't get over that hump of at least giving San Antonio or OKC like a 7-game series in the conference finals, we're talking about a team that'll probably make even more changes, a team that might fire a coach. You know what I mean? Like, this is a team that is really, really trying to win right now, that is trying to capitalize the youth of Anthony Edwards, and that is trying to do everything they can to stay in the realm of a San Antonio and an OKC. And if they're not able to do that, LaMelo Ball will probably get a lot of that blame. Chris Finch will probably have some job security concerns, because at a certain point, if you've been there for 5 years and the ceiling is conference finals every time, we usually see the coach leave, whether that's fair or not. We usually see the coach get fired, whether that's fair or not. So this is definitely a year for LaMelo Ball and for the Minnesota Timberwolves. With his addition, there's going to be a lot more expected of him, right? Especially because he's not going to be expected to be the number one. And to me, the fact that he's playing alongside a guy like Anthony Edwards actually makes the pressure even more intense for him, because sure, there won't be pressure for you to be the number one, but this is going to be the easiest situation you've ever been in your career when it comes to the team being good around you and who you're playing with and the talent and the coaching and all of that from top to bottom. So if you come out here and everything's clicking on all cylinders and you're the one that won't lock in on defense, or you're the one that's turning the ball over, or you're the one that's hurt, or you're the one that's got off-court stuff going on, the fans will not accept it. Because this team has never been that type of team. This team has not been a drama team. This team has not been a underwhelming team. This team has not been a dysfunctional, disorganized, misrun organization for the last couple of years since Anthony Edwards has been there, even since Cat was there. It just really has not been that. This has been a good run organization. This has been a good team. And with you coming in here, all you have to do is get Anthony Edwards open, run the offense. All you got to do is be the point guard. That's all you have to do. You don't have to be the best player. You don't have to be the superstar. You don't have to be the star of the show, because you have Anthony Edwards with you. So with that means, hey, while you're in a crazier situation, you're in a situation where there's more put on you because you're expected to win a championship. Also, you're in an easier situation because you have a better player next to you than you ever had in Charlotte. So it's a give and take, right? To me, those two things come together and make the pressure on LaMelo Ball even more insane than it already would have been, whether he was in Minnesota or Charlotte, because of the pieces around him, the pedigree of this team, the talent that he has, everything like that. This is a season where LaMelo Ball's NBA career will be decided. This will be a season where where NBA teams will be looking at LaMelo Ball either as a max player for the next couple of years, or looking at LaMelo Ball as a guy that's like, yeah, solid point guard. You know what I mean? We'll be either looking at LaMelo as like a perennial all-star for the next couple of years based off this season and a winning player, or everybody will have all the ammo in the world to say what they've already been saying about how LaMelo's play style cannot lead to wins should this disappoint. That's what's going to happen. The Timberwolves have any worse season than they've had in the past, it's going to be LaMelo's play style can't win. They have any better season than they have in the past, it's going to be great trade. So basically, it's all riding on LaMelo. And then last but not least, the player with the most pressure on their shoulders this season is easily Joel Embiid. Given this is a former MVP and one of the most dominant centers ever, you could say that's crazy, but dude, with what the 76ers did, with what their front office did, everything like that, to buy in for really these next 2 seasons, to give Joel Embiid and to give this team, to give this city the best opportunity, the best team they've ever had in order to go win a championship, yeah, the pressure's all on the process himself to be the centerpiece to this team, because there's a lot of reasons why I think Embiid is the main pressure guy in the season. And here, for one, it's because he is the guy that won an MVP on this team. It's because he is a guy. Forgive me. It's because he is the guy that's been the face of the franchise. It's because he is the guy who, in every single playoff run where, not every single, but in most of the playoff runs where we look at the 76ers as disappointing, other than like the Ben Simmons not taking the shot against the Hawks, it's been on Joel Embiid to some extent, right? Where like you have the series versus Boston a couple years ago where him and Harden are going back and forth having bad games. And you have like series like that, or like the series versus the Raptors where like, yeah, Joel Embiid was a little bit younger, but their team was better than the Raptors team was. As a Raptors fan, I remember that. Kawhi Leonard was just on some crazy stuff that year, but that team was actually better than the Raptors team was. So Joel Embiid throughout his career has had some teams and had some talent around him to the point where he should have made a conference finals to this point. And the fact that he hasn't was already making the pressure on him mount more and more and more. Well, now you get Jaylen Brown for almost nothing. And you get LeBron James, who's literally on the best contract in the entire NBA right now, for literally nothing. There's no excuse. There's no injury excuse. There is nothing that could happen this season. I need you to understand. There's nothing that could happen this season other than the NBA getting shut down that would be an excuse for Joel Embiid to have a bad playoff series. That would be an excuse for Joel Embiid to underwhelm in a winner-go-home game. That would be an excuse for the 76ers to not, at the very, very, very least, make the conference finals. If Joel Embiid does not lead this team to, at the very least, a 7-game or phenomenal conference final series, I'm talking about, like, they lose the conference finals, but they lose to the Knicks in 7. Or they lose the conference finals, but they lose to a really good team like the Heat or something in 7. They lose to a team that matches up against them really well in 6 or in 7 games. I don't think the fan base would be too mad because you still have another year on LeBron's contract where you can come back, get another piece or two, get a backup center, or you come back and you try to win a championship that year. But if you come out here and you're hurt for the regular season, and the Sixers barely touch 50 wins, and y'all are like a 4 seed, and then you lose in the second round because Joel Embiid's hurt or because Joel Embiid's not playing well, oh, it's going to be hell to pay. It's going to be hell to pay. This cannot be a year where something goes wrong for Joel Embiid no matter what it is. It can't be. There's too much riding on this year. There is too much hope in the city of Philadelphia. As a guy that lives in Pennsylvania, I don't think y'all understand how crazy it was when LeBron went to Philly. Bro, I thought the state was going to blow up. Not the city. I thought the state was going to blow up when LeBron James went to Philadelphia. Like everyone was talking about it. It was the whole thing. The whole state posted it. I saw everybody I know posted on their Instagram story that LeBron James was coming. I saw people putting it on Snapchat. I saw people making custom jerseys. People were talking about when the jerseys coming out, blah, 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 blah. And that's not just because it's LeBron James. That's also because this team is a super team right now with Tyrese Maxey, VJ, Jaylen Brown, LeBron James, and Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid is the guy with the most pressure on him because he's the centerpiece. And he's also the guy with the least backup help. Any one of these other guys goes down for a little bit of time, there's not that much pressure on them because, one, they don't have the injury history of Joel Embiid, but 2, they have backups. You can get a Dean Wade to come in for LeBron. Even though it's a drop-off, it's still a player. You can get an Anthony Simons or a LeBaron Philon or whoever you want to come in for a Maxey or a VJ Edgecombe. And while, again, it's a drop-off, it's not Porty to Embiid drop-off. You know what I mean? It's not Dominic Barlow to Embiid level drop-off. Like, those are drop-offs where it's like, yeah, kind of crazy. You know what I mean? So absolutely, the player with the most pressure on their shoulders in the NBA right now is Joel Embiid. He was going to have a lot of pressure on him no matter what, just because he hasn't made the conference finals and he's had such good teams. But now, with the team he has, the pressure is championship or bust for the whole organization, for the whole city. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching as always. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video if y'all enjoyed it and everything like that, man. Let me know what y'all want to see next. I got some video ideas coming out. We're going to, you know what I'm saying, stay consistent, everything like that. I've been dropping like 3 or 4 videos a week in the off season, but once the season starts in like a little over a month now, there will be videos pretty much kind of every day, I think. I think that's kind of what I'm gonna aim for. I'm going to really lock in with this NBA season, everything like that. So yeah, stay tuned for content, man. Keep God first. Remember, he loves you and so do I, all right? Praise God. Peace.